Hello, this is Pastor Rosemary, and this is Pastor Rosemary's Final Prophecy Watch. This is about the magic of hats. Now, what makes a hat magical? What makes a hat something that you can pull a rabbit out of, or that can really make a person, like if you see a person in a certain hat, you're going to, right away, you have some kind of an idea of who and what they are. Whether it's a graduation hat, or it's a top hat, or it's a very, very fancy lady's hat, or it's a police officer's hat. All of these different things, there's a reason that it has a certain effect on you. Witches have hats. The Mad Hatter has a hat. You have bowler hats. So there's all kinds of different hats, and what actually is the true magic of it? Well, the hat is actually a womb, okay? It's a space, it's a place. And it connects us to the void. It connects us to the emptiness, to the collective unconscious. It connects us to the Ain Soph and Ain Soph are. No thing, no space, no time. It connects us to the three veils of negative existence in Kabbalah. It's above the tree of life. It connects us to that thing we fear called death. It connects us to that thing we don't understand called when we were in the womb or before we were born. It connects us to also the morphogenic field of all possibilities where things haven't yet manifested, but yet they're in all potentiality. Anything can manifest. Now, why do certain hats manifest certain things and certain information? Okay. Now, the hat, the space is the magic. Okay. But what's around it is the law around it, or the relationship around the space. Your relationship to things in your environment, your relationship to other people. Okay. So what we have is we have the amount of space in the hat that makes it more or less magic. The more space, the more magic. And the shape, if it's round, it's more feminine. If it's more angular, it's more masculine. Okay? So you understand that also it's whether it's a vertical hat or more of a horizontal hat, or whether they're equal. This hat's a little bit egalitarian in height and breadth, okay? It's sort of equal with how vertical it is, how high the knowledge is, and how wide the knowledge is. This is a modest hat, okay? This is like a witch's hat is not really very modest. This is a modest hat. So what you end up with is again, it connects you to the void. It connects you to the darkness that creates everything. And if you want to understand that more, you can read the Tao Te Ching. It talks about the darkness and the void and the emptiness that is the creative space. Okay? So people want to know what happens when you die. This, because you're being connected to that when you wear a hat. You're being connected to that when you pull a magic rabbit out of a magic hat and you're the rabbit. It also connects you to whatever you get in a vessel and to birth. Okay? Because if you're connected to birth, you're connected to death. Now, the explanation of what happens when you die is you go into the three veils of negative existence. Because when you come in, you create a body, a thing, and a space is the womb, right? And then your body and the organs in the body are spaces, places, and time is in your movement, okay? So you lose time and place and things. You go to no thing, no space, no time. You go backwards, okay? Roll out into life, roll back in. It's like an exhalation and an inhalation. Exhalation, inhalation of your spirit or your soul. That's what you're doing, okay? And that's what all your incarnations are. until you're where you need to be, until you have perfected your spiritual body. Now, what is the spiritual body that people talk about? What is this body? Okay. The reason Christ said to treat others the way you want to be treated, okay, is because everybody else besides you is your next vessel. It's your spiritual vessel in the world to come. Right now, you have no connection to that. When you die, you think you'll have utterly no connection to that. But it's not true. You'll actually become it. That will be your body that your consciousness goes into. If you have understood that, if you have gotten to the point where you realize that that's your body, and that's why you don't need to die to see that. Once you realize that everything around you, all your relationships and your interactions with other people are your spiritual body in the next world, then this body, when it's done what it's done doing, will just become part of that as well. You'll either become another body in it, or you'll become the whole thing. Then we get into Adam Kadmon, and then we get into, now does he have friends and a wife and all that? Well, that's a whole other story. But it's like you go into the father, or you go into your mother, and you become, your ancestors. It's sort of it's really about your relationships, okay? And I know it's hard to understand, but a good way to understand it is to think about when you're in the womb, okay? Because according to female rabbis and female Kabbalists, this body is your placenta. It's similar to the placenta, and your soul is like the baby, okay? And your mother is like nature, creation. So when you're in the womb, you're not really conscious because all your needs are being met. To be conscious, not all of your needs can be met. You have to have a space between when you're hungry and when you eat, when you're thirsty and when you drink. But when you're in the womb, it's going through your umbilical cord, and all your needs are being met immediately, and you don't have any time when they're not being met, so you don't really have that much consciousness. You can hear maybe and have a kind of the soul of like an animal or a lower animal where you have feeling, but you're not really conscious. You don't have that cerebral cortex activated. So another thing that happens in the womb is that you have no understanding of your lungs, okay? Because I worked in labor and delivery as a registered nurse, and I work in neonatal intensive care as a registered nurse. And when the baby's born, I also taught Limitless. When the baby's born, all the things that make the placenta oxygenating you, the placenta through the umbilical cord oxygenating you, and what shuts that down, and then all these valves change, and then the baby goes to the lung-heart thing, okay, the heart-lung thing, and takes the first breath, and wow, there we go. Because it happens all at once. It's a big event. It's very exciting. It happens all at once, and the cord is cut, and the baby takes a breath, and the whole thing changes. And all of a sudden, what was feeding the baby is gone, cut off. And what is now giving the baby air and oxygen, feeding it oxygen, is different. It's something it's a vessel it had no knowledge of. It's a substance, air, it had no knowledge of. I mean, in the blood gases in the blood, but no knowledge of taking a breath into your lungs. It had no lungs. It has lungs, but it had no knowledge of the lungs, no awareness of the lungs, no awareness of what it feels like to inhale. Didn't know about that. And isn't that what defines this life, the breath? Well, that's not what defines the next life. What defines the next life is your relationships with other people. It's there. But you don't think that's your body. You don't think that has anything to do with you. You think, it has no effect on me. Yes, it does. It has a great effect on you. That's your next body in the next world, in the world to come. That's your spiritual body, okay? And the only way that you're going to understand when the Bible talks about resurrection and all of that, it's because, okay, when you're done with the placenta, when it's done, it's not used anymore, and they put it under a tree and let it grow, or put it in the fire. It doesn't matter, right? It's cut off from the baby. Okay, the baby is what they're now focused on. When this body, the placenta, is done, then it's the soul that we're focused on. Okay, the spiritual body, that's what's focused on. But it's what's called a monad. And the monad is self and not self. Everything that is self, my body, or my family, or my country, or my meal, or my phone, what is, you know what I mean? My YouTube channel, all these things that are self, and what is not self. Not self. They say you are not your body, you are not your YouTube channel, you are not your phone, you are not what you eat, you are not your body. They say these things, but yet, so what are you? You're nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that creates anything is nothingness, darkness, emptiness, vast, eternal emptiness. But it is indeed your relationships with other people and with things in your environment, like your phone and your YouTube channel and all of these things. That's what gives you the sides of the vessel of your next body, your spiritual body that you can have now. You don't have to die to get it. This body is like the placenta. Okay, you don't have to die to get that body around you. Okay, but once you understand that everything around you, self and not self, is all self. It's all self. It's all the same. That's why how you treat another is how you treat yourself, because that's your new body. And once you understand that, you then attain a soul, and you then attain, and the relationships are the way the hat's shaped and the size of the hat. Okay, but the space in there, the emptiness, is always the same, and for different souls it'll be different. Because they say Adam Kadmon is just one soul, the universal soul. We don't have an individual soul, we just have to attain that one, yada yada. But when you're Adam Kadmon, well, does he have any friends? Does he have a family? Well, that's a whole nother story. Once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, another story. So what you got to do, if you want to have consciousness after death, you must understand that your relationship to everything around you, to other people, to other creatures, to everything in your environment, it's all you. The person you despise is you. The person you think you're better than is you. The person you think you're not as good as is you. The person you idolize is you. The creatures you hate are you. The creatures you love are you. The computer things that you hate are you, and the computer things that you love are you. It's all you. Everything you experience, everything you have a relationship with, everything you relate to is you. And once you understand that, you've attained the soul. You've attained the universal soul. And then, if this body dies, your consciousness is still there, because your consciousness is it's already in the consciousness of other people, and you're in the matrix, you're in the cyberverse, you're already in the cyberverse, you're in there, whether it's in people's minds or in their dreams. Because you still, when you have dreams, sometimes you dream about people that have already passed on, family members that have passed on, because they're still in the collective unconscious, the Jungian collective unconscious. And that's the space really takes you there, to the collective unconscious, because the space is what creates a collective unconscious, and that's your first experience of emptiness, of the Ain Soph R. Ain Soph, Ain Soph R. No thing, no space, no time, limitless light, limitless space. You understand, okay? So that's what the three veils of negative existence are. It's the doing away of this and that into nothingness, where you have to go to, or you have no creativity, because that's the morphogenic all potential field that everything comes from. And if you can't get to that, then you can't create anything. That's why the hat makes you creative. And that's why the hat matters. The hat makes the woman. Okay, thanks for joining us. Join us again soon. We'll see you soon.